Hi everybody, and welcome to the final talk of today, which is going to focus on interview skills. So what to do now that you've made it to the interview. We're going to look at some common mistakes, some interesting facts and statistics, and the techniques that you can use in order to deliver the strongest possible interview that you can. So you made it to interview, fantastic. It's a really big achievement that you should be incredibly proud of. But no matter how many job interviews we go for, it never really gets any easier. And it's really common and normal to feel nervous. It's perfectly normal to feel nervous because usually getting a new job means a lot to people. It could be that it's their ideal job role. It could be a stepping stone onto their end career goal. It could be for other reasons that it's important, financial reasons and family reasons that you secure this job. So whatever your reasons are, it's perfectly normal to feel nervous because it means a lot to you. Most people will have an unsuccessful interview at some stage of their working life. It's a lesson I feel that most people go through. It helps in terms of learning where you went wrong. It prepares you for situations where you may find you are rejected or unsuccessful in things. And it really is a learning curve. And whilst it's disappointing, I think there are a lot of positives you can take from unsuccessful interviews. Around 20% of people who apply for the job make it to the actual interview stage. There can be hundreds of people apply for one position. So if you do make it to interview, that's something to be proud of in itself. And remember that you're there because that employer has read your application, they've read your CV, and they think that you're a suitable candidate for that job. So some interesting interview facts for you. So many employers do use social media as a way of filtering out applicants, or they may look for you before your interview. So please be mindful of how public your profiles are and what you're posting or sharing on there as well. So whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just be aware that what you're putting on there is accessible. And about 68% of employers do check on Facebook to see if you're there and take a look over your profile. The average length of an interview is 40 minutes, but many employers will know much sooner whether or not they want to hire you. 40 minutes sounds like quite a long time, but I'd say anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes is a good length for an interview. If you're finishing much sooner than that, it could be that you haven't said enough in the interview. And if you go on a little bit longer than that, it could be that you're maybe saying a little too much. So it's important to keep your answers clear, concise, to the point, but really get across all of that key information at the same time. Almost half of people who are interviewed go into that interview without really doing enough research on the organisation that they're interviewing for. And it's one of the main reasons why people tend to be unsuccessful, because it really showed in the interview that they hadn't done any background research on who they were going to be working for, and potentially impacted some of the answers that they gave. And whilst it could be argued that it shouldn't be the case, many employers will assess you on things such as how you dress, your body language, and your eye contact. So those are things to really be wary about, how you're portraying yourself to the employer, not by what you're saying, but how you're dressed and what your body is actually doing. So let's look at how we can prepare for interviews. So reading the job specification sounds obvious, but it's probably the best place to start because it will tell you exactly what skills, strengths, qualities that employer is looking for from their candidates for that job. So you need to make sure you've highlighted what they're looking for and pick out what you have in terms of your transferable skills, and make sure that they're nice and matched up and that you've got some examples to put behind them. Do your research on the organisation. What is it that they do? What are their mission goals? What are the company values and ethics? Do you agree with them? How are you going to show that you fit in with those company values? And are there wider parts of the company that maybe you didn't know too much about that you could potentially bring in to your interview? Practice answering your interview questions either alone or with somebody that you're comfortable with. Practice and preparation is key, and it can really help you to go into an interview more confident and ease your nerves. Whilst I'm not saying it's going to get rid of those nerves completely, you at least are going in there knowing that you've prepared the best that you possibly can. Now, after today's session, I would recommend using the National Careers Services website. There's a section on there called Help to Get a Job, and there are 2 interview support sections on there. So preparation for an interview and common interview questions to help you write some answers, practice some answers, either alone or with somebody else, and also to help you understand a little bit more about what to expect from the actual interview itself. It talks about interview techniques on there. So we're going to look at 2 key interview techniques. Which one you use is entirely up to yourself. One of the most popular and well-known ones is the STAR technique. So you've probably heard of that before. It stands for situation, task, action, and result. So when you are asked a question by the interviewer, explain the situation that you found yourself in and the tasks that you were asked to conduct or complete, the actions that you used in order to successfully complete those tasks, and what the end result was. But don't be afraid to talk about what you learned, what you would have done differently, where things maybe went wrong and how you put them right. It shows that you are looking to continuously improve what you do, that you take feedback on board, that you know that things can be reviewed and done better again in the future. So that's the STAR technique. There's also a slightly more simpler one, which is the P technique. That stands for point, explain, and example. So it's a slightly shorter version of the STAR technique. It includes all the same elements. So it's about explaining your point or situation and fully explaining this, exactly what you did, how you went about it, what you learned from it, and providing a real life example to help you really tie in your skills and strengths to the question that they've asked, and so that you can demonstrate that you've got what they're looking for in terms of skills and experience. Now, ending an interview isn't easy, and it can be a little bit awkward. Sometimes you're not really sure what you should or shouldn't do. When the employer asks you at the end of an interview if you have any questions for them, the answer should always be yes. It should never be, no, I think you've covered everything, or no, nothing that I can think of right at this moment in time. It should always be yes, and you should be going in there with pre-prepared questions that you want to ask the employer. So ask questions like, can you tell me more about the training that I would receive if I was successful with the position? Can you tell me more about career opportunities and progression here? What's it like to work here on a day-to-day basis? You can bring in the research that you've done on that organisation about their company values and ethics, and also other parts of the organisation that you might want to get involved in. Do not ask questions that you should really already know the answer to. It'll make the employer feel like you didn't really read over the job advert or specification thoroughly. Don't ask questions about money, perks, holidays, because it's not about what this employer can offer to you. It's about what you can bring to that organisation to add experience, skills, and value. So these are things that you can find out more about once you've actually been successful with the job. So if you've got upcoming holidays and you've been offered the job, that's the time to tell them that you have already got pre-planned holidays in there. They'll talk to you about your salary if it wasn't already mentioned on the job specification. Now, you know, unfortunately, we all go through unsuccessful interviews, and one of the best ways to get back up and get back out there in interviews is by requesting feedback from the employer. It's really important. And whilst it's frustrating that some might not always get back to you to explain why you were unsuccessful on that occasion, many will. And at the end of the day, how are you supposed to know where you went wrong if you're not getting feedback? So a lot of employers are willing to talk you through why they felt that on that occasion you weren't the right person for the job. So when you do get this feedback, learn from it. It's really normal to feel disappointed, but the best thing that you can do is put your mistakes right. It could be really simple things like you didn't give enough examples in your answers, or it could be that there was somebody there that just had slightly more experience than you did. So if that's the case, maybe go and look for ways to gain some more experience through voluntary work, work experience placements. If you didn't provide enough examples, that's something that you can definitely take into the next interview with you. Now, to end, it's going to sound obvious, but I want to run through some common mistakes that we see, and things that really should just be part and parcel of preparation for an interview. So dress smartly. It's always better to go dressed smartly than casual. Even if it's a more casual workplace, you're going for an interview. You're there to impress. You're there to dress for the job you want. If it is a more casual workplace, fab, you can dress casually once you've successfully got the job. But for your interview, it is always better to dress smart. Don't be late. If you're unsure how long it's going to take to get there, where you need to be, the different route that you need to take, maybe do a dry run the day before, so you know exactly where the office is and how to get in. Make sure you know who it is that you need to ask for when you get to reception in the organisation, and be there on time. If anything, be there a little bit earlier. Try to be yourself. Really let your personality shine through in an interview. They want to see who you are as a person, not just as an employee. And try and be positive. So ask the interviewers how they are. Say something like, it's nice to meet you. It's always nice to start on a really positive note in an interview. And finally, don't sway. Don't use slang, slouch, fidget. Relax. Just open up your body, use confident body language, use your hands to sort of portray the point you're trying to get across, and try to maintain eye contact with the people who are interviewing you at all times. I hope that's helpful. I hope it's given you something to take away. If you would like to discuss it further, we are here for you. There's the tools on our website, but you can also speak to a careers advisor on our helpline, which is 0800 100 900. On our live web chat, you can send us an email, or you can find us on social media. But best of luck with all your job applications and upcoming interviews.